Good morning. Today we're going to do a recap on Chapter 3 in the purchasing book, Distribution Systems. And this is a real important chapter. There's a lot of really good information in here and a lot of real good food for thought. In fact, our discussion question this past week was over the different types of economic values and which one you thought was the most important. We'll get to that more. But the important thing to think about when you think about distribution systems is the broad nature of it. Think about that banana you had for breakfast this morning, if you had a banana, or if not, the oatmeal or however. Think about how many hands literally had to touch that to bring that to your table. That banana, you have to have someone who grows it. Of course, you have somebody that owns the land, the equipment to dig in the land, the fertilizer and the pesticides, the people who grow it, the people who pick it, the people that transport it, the middleman it goes to, the people, the end sellers, the marketers, the inspectors. It's crazy when you think about how little the cost is for some of these products out here. You think, well, I can buy an apple for 50 cents. When you think about how many processes went into getting that apple to the table, it's hard to believe that it only cost, what it does. You can easily see how, why some of our food costs so much more, because there's so many people involved with it. So we've got growers, processors, fabricators, or some of the different things we're going to hear. You're also going to read about value-added food. And a value-added food is basically something that extra work has been done to make it into another form. So let's take a pineapple, for example. We can go buy a pineapple in the grocery store, whole pineapple. It's got the outer skin on it and the top. A value-added pineapple might be a fresh pineapple in a plastic container that has had the outsides and top cut off and has been ringed and been cored. Value-added. The same thing with broccoli. You can buy a whole broccoli head or a crown of broccoli that's been cut up, or broccoli florets that's been cut up and put into plastic bags. So value added, things have been done to it to add a value to it. You pay more for that, and there might be some other stipulations. We'll talk more about that down the way. But you should know what value added means. We have several different types of intermediaries or distributors to talk about. We have specialty distributors, full line and broad line distributors. Now, specialty distributors, people that just sell basically one product. We sell only seafood, or we are just a produce distributor. And there's been a number of those through the years. I've worked with a lot of them. If you go to the discussion board and just for fun this week, you will look down and you will see a listing of several different distributors, both full line, broad line, and specialty. When we talk about full line distributors, like, it might be Sysco, U.S. Food, Reinhart Food, Springfield Grocer. They might be full line or broad line. Right? Full line means we basically sell equipment and supplies, or food and supplies. A broad line, they sell everything: food, equipment, supplies, all of it. And sometimes those vary. At one point, Sysco, U.S. Food, all those sold equipment, they sold food, they sold value-added food, but a lot of them have gotten away from equipment and things like that. They might just sell small wares now. But go to discussion for fun. There's about 6 different websites to look at, and go take a look at some of those broad websites. And we're not saying one is better than the other, but just something to look at. And that's who we buy, by the way, most of our food from, are these broad and full line and specialty distributors in the food service industry. Sure, we can go to the store, but that gets really costly. And the time it takes, we can be doing other things. So, know about the types of distributors. Then we mentioned brokers. Brokers are the devil. We hate brokers in our business. And a broker is basically somebody who works for a brokerage firm, and a brokerage firm will represent multiple products from usually several different companies. So, for example, Smith Brokerage may represent Quaker Oats, Keebler, Fanta Beverage, and a half dozen others. The job for that broker is to go out and market products from Keebler, from Fanta, from Quaker Oats. So they'll usually ride along with a representative from one of those broad line companies. So Cisco calls and they say, hey, I want to bring a broker in this week. He's got some products to show. So in comes the rep, in comes the broker lays out all these products. Hey, let me show you what you can buy from the companies that we represent. Now, why do we hate brokers? Because brokers will come in, they'll show you a product that you fall in love with. I've got to have it. It's the best thing I've seen all day. I've been looking for this. And then the broker will say, well, now US Food or Cisco doesn't carry this now, but if you write them and tell them you're going to buy so much of it, they'll carry it for you. I hate that. Don't bring me anything that is not in stock, because if I fall in love with it and then I can't get it, that makes me unhappy. Some of the worst arguments I've ever had in this business have been with brokers who pull this shenanigan on you and get you to do their work. So brokers, we usually don't like. I have had some good ones, and good ones are those that come in and look at your needs and try to help you, and rather than just push products. Another type of person you might run into is a manufacturing rep. A manufacturing rep is similar to a broker. However, they will come in and usually show you how to use a product. We see manufacturing reps a lot with equipment. So you might have a Vulcan representative who comes in and shows you a Vulcan oven, and they'll come in and demo it and show you how to use it. Volrath is another company. The front line of our cafe was built by Volrath, and we have a manufacturing rep for them. So they come in, they work with you, they show you what they can do, they come in, they custom design it for you. As a manufacturing rep, they aren't so bad. Some other things you might want to know about are commissaries. We usually hear the term central commissary, and that is usually a central location that food is sent from. You see this a lot in franchises. So years ago I worked for Hardee's, and we had to buy all of our food for Hardee's from a central commissary. So every Hardee's bought from a central commissary, and when we needed food, it would come from this one place, all shipped in. We couldn't just go to the store and buy hamburger meat or something. It had to come from the central commissary. When I worked for Ball State University, we had a central commissary there too. Everything would be delivered to one central location. Then we'd have to go pick up specialty items or have it delivered to us. Wholesale clubs, something else that comes up in this chapter. Hopefully you're familiar with Costco or Sam's. Personally, I love Sam's Club. I go to Sam's Club almost every weekend in Springfield just to walk around. Great prices usually, always have to check. Interesting availability. But compared to US Food and Cisco and Reinhardt and Benny Keith and all those, it can be a very good option. Sometimes their prices are cheaper. The wholesale clubs have also embraced modern technology, so most of them now I can call in, place my order if there's one in town, and have my product ready for me to pick up when I go in. So the best of both worlds. I like warehouse clubs a lot. They're usually easy to work with, great products. You might also have a buying club. And with a buying club, that's basically a group of buyers who will go together to buy product in bulk. And we talked about this before. Buying in bulk means you're going to get a much better price on something. So that's buying club. Now, we get to the point of the discussion question this last week, and that was on economic values. And economic values are basically things that are added to a product as they pass along through the distribution system from that distributor to the end user. And there are several that we listed. Time, form, place, information, and then supplier service. And I asked in the discussion question, which one do you think is most important? Time, economic value of time. When you want something, you want it. How long is it going to take you to get it there? The time it takes for them to ship it to you. You might also look at the economic value of time with financing. How long do I have to pay this off? Do I have to give you a check today? Do I have 30 days, same as cash? Those types of things. Time is important in our business, because if I want to run a special on something Monday, I pretty much need to get it on Friday so I can run it on Monday. I don't necessarily have time to wait for things. So that's a pretty crucial point. Form, really important. I'm going to run Joe's Steakhouse. I want the best steaks in town. What form do I buy my steak in? Do I buy a whole cow? Do I buy a side of beef? Do I buy a quarter? Do I buy pre-cut steaks? Do I buy pre-cut fresh steaks? How do I buy it? What is the form? Same thing with produce. Do I buy things cut up? Do I buy them whole? Do I buy them fresh? Do I buy them frozen? So there is an economic value to all those things. Obviously, the more we have these processed, the more it's going to cost. If I buy a whole cow, the price per pound is going to be much cheaper than if I buy a pre-cut steak, because somebody has to put time in there to do all that processing. Time value again, the time spent to break all these things down. So we have to figure out which is most important to us, time or the money. Place value, getting it to where we need to get it. It costs money to deliver. When gas prices shot up a couple years ago and we saw diesel go through the roof, we were paying a premium for every order for gas. So we were paying a gas surcharge on every order we bought for food on top of the regular food cost because of the price of gas. And the farther away you lived or the more out of line of other businesses, the more you paid. Here in Melbourne, there's about 8 businesses in town that sell food, 8 or 9. Everybody buys from Sysco in this town except for one, and that's us. Because I don't like Sysco personally. So anyway, the company that comes through here, in all honesty, should charge us a little bit more for gas because we're the only stop and we're way out of the way. So they don't, which is a good thing about them. But that's our place value. Information value, we don't see that as much in the hospitality industry, but sometimes when you buy equipment, if you've got a company that's willing to give you more information, for example, they're going to come down and show you how to use a product, or they've got instructional videos or things like that, the more information they can give you has a value. And finally, supplier service, kind of what we call an intangible value or support services. And it goes back to what makes one purveyor better than another purveyor. Do you have somebody that wants your phone calls at 8 o'clock at night and 9 o'clock at night? Will they return your emails and your text within a few minutes of each other? I was doing some consulting this last summer at a club in Batesville, and I had to recommend that they get rid of the purveyor they had. And the purveyor, they were buying about $250,000 worth of food a year from this purveyor. And I had to get this guy literally thrown out of his job because the client would call at, say, 6 o'clock in the evening on a Friday, and the sales rep would say, don't ever call me after 4 o'clock from Friday on, because that is not the time I work. Well, you're selling, or buying $250,000 worth of product from a sales rep. You have the right to call them when you need something, especially if there's a problem. So intangible services like that, we recently had an issue with Sysco where I had product that arrived and it was terrible. I needed this product the next day. I called Sysco and they said, well, we have a policy now that we can't just run a box out with our sales rep. So basically, you're out of luck. So I got a hold of another company who I hadn't bought anything from, said, could you help me out? I need this tomorrow. They brought it down and got it to me in time. So I switched companies. And I told Sysco that. They said, well, our policies now are we can't put things in a car, or we can't drive them down, blah, blah, blah. To which I said, well, then you better make sure that they're right when they leave your warehouse. And I don't want to buy from you anymore. There was more to that, but I'll leave that for another discussion. So anyway, Chapter 3 recap, the distribution system. And we're going to talk a lot more about the distribution system as we go along. Buying from the right person, buying from the right company is everything. They're all good. They all suck. They've all got pluses. They've all got minuses. They all sell you food. They all promise you the world. But I think having that relationship with your company, and more importantly, the sales rep that you deal with, is the difference between being successful in this business and not being successful in this business. All right, that's Chapter 3. We'll see you here for Chapter 4 in just a bit. Thanks.